Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Color Commentary Podcast. This is episode 15, heading into week 13. One of my teams is out. Who? The Hochulis. You guessed right. They're out of contention. J-Mar, how'd your team do?
I'm back on the horse, man. I scored the most points in my league this week, thanks to Jahmyr Gibbs, thanks to Jalen Hurts, but mostly thanks to Jahmyr Gibbs, who scored like 63 points for me. God bless that man. He's got an Amazon package in the mail from me saying, thank you, Mr. Gibbs.
The fantasy scores this year have been off the chart. They haven't seen so many above 150 before, but there's a few boomers, and I don't have any of them. So better luck next time for my teams, especially for my teams with Justin Jefferson. J-Mar, let's go into it.
After snapping my 4-game winning streak last week, I am back in the W column. So
nice.
That was a very, very good victory for me. In fact, I scored the most points in my league last week because I had Jahmyr Gibbs, who went off for like 63 points. But I also had Jalen Hurts, who scored 33 points. I also had the Cleveland defense, who scored like 20 points. Yeah, like I was at both O-lave and Darnell Mooney, who I stuck in there to tap out Drake London. Yeah, they both scored 16 points each. So, I mean, I destroyed. Not only did I destroy my opponent, I just destroyed the entire community of fantasy football league owners in my league. But that doesn't say anything, right? It's like
1 week.
1 week, it's almost like we had that phrase, right? Bad week, move on. Well, look, it also works for good weeks too. Good week, move on. I've got another battle this week with a very formidable opponent who is nipping at my heels to get in the playoff action. So I don't take this week lightly at all. And it's a strange week because it's Thanksgiving week and we have 3 games on Thursday and then we have another one on Friday, and then it's kind of a strange week. So hopefully my guys will be able to perform. And I've got a lot of guys that are playing on Thanksgiving. So
not just another game, the Bears game on Friday.
The Bears. Oh, that's right. They're playing on Friday. That's right. Good luck, man.
8-3. There's so many great memes right now. And one of them is a boy can't sleep at night and he's thinking about the Bears-Eagles game, and he's got a Bears hat on. It's a make it or break it game. They've been so lucky winning at the end. There's another, again, the internet, there's another meme I saw where some guy's just reacting to the last plays of each game every week and how the Bears are just squeaking it out with wins. I'm not used to it. I kind of don't believe it. It's fun. It's the opposite of why I started getting into fantasy, because I didn't like watching my home team lose every week. And I got to give you congratulations for your week, man. I mean, every move you made, what was your total score?
I scored 181 points, which
That's
was
sick.
Yeah, which was about 30 more than the closest opponent in the entire league. But I beat my opponent, who had a pretty decent game, by 60 points. So yeah, I mean, he started Mahomes, who killed it with 25.8 points. He started Wendell Robinson, who had 34 points, 9 receptions, 156 receiving yards, and a touchdown. Gosh, man, he was 1 reception away from bonus points his way too. So, I mean, like I didn't play a slouch, and even though my opponent's record doesn't reflect it, I know that he's just a couple of starts away, or missed starts away from having a much better record. So you just can't sleep on anyone just because they have a below 500 record. You're like, oh, I got this guy. It's fantasy football. You just never know what's going to happen. So you just got to prepare, unless you have an owner that's neglectful, right, and is just kind of giving up on their team, and you're like, oh, why did they start somebody who has a bye week? Then you're like, where's the love? Where's the passion? You just started somebody that's on a bye week. That's clearly an owner who's not paying attention to their team and being neglectful. So,
which
got an eye on you.
The game.
Ruins the game.
Ruins it. Everyone needs to be competitive. I mean, as the commissioner, people who aren't starting their lineups, you're out. You're not
yeah, I think.
year.
I think that's gives serious consideration to that as well too. I agree. Yeah.
I have looked at the highest scores in one of my leagues, in my sleeper league. I think it was 150 points or so. I have to double check that. I mean, almost getting 200, like that's historical in terms of like a Jahmyr Gibbs, what he did. I think they said only like a Barry Sanders. Oh no, it was LaDainian Tomlinson had a better game, but I think he had the second best fantasy game of all time.
Oh, probably at that position, right? Like
At that position,
yeah, correct, yeah. I mean, I remember I had, Julio Jones when he had that 300-yard game. This was like maybe about, I don't know, 6 years ago, maybe. Oh my gosh, he scored a lot of points for me. I think it was like 71 points that game. And I got to go all the way back to like maybe the greatest show on earth. That's how long I've been playing fantasy football. Is that I had Kurt Warner as my starting quarterback one year.
That was fun.
The first year I won, and it was the greatest show on turf or whatever they were called. And oh my gosh, I scored so many points with Kurt Warner. And he was also one of those guys that you're like, oh my gosh, the dude's like threw for like 500 yards, like practically every game. And he like scored 80 fantasy points. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been playing on and off. And I mean, my favorite year was last year because everything lined up when I drafted Jamar Chase and a few other players. And then the other league I played in, my team was pretty terrible, but eked into the playoffs. And then it got hot when the playoffs happened. And then a few just clutch moves here and there. So one was a squeaker and the other one was dominant. This year has been really, really tough for my teams with injuries. And my teams aren't booming. Like I looked and I'm not having like a top 10 worst games ever, nor am I having the top 10 best games ever. My teams are kind of even. Mm-hmm. And so on Sleeper, that means I'm in second place. In my Yahoo League, I'm in fourth place. And I think consistency often is key. And the Hockey Leagues, man, oh man. I mean, like 4-8. It's just sad. I mean, having Josh Allen, Justin Jefferson, you remember how stoked I was when I drafted that team, and it just didn't work out. And you know, it on top of Justin Jefferson showing up, I had AJ Brown on that team, so it was kind of like, you know, the top two wideouts not showing up. I mean, I might as well have drafted Brian Thomas Jr. and Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, well, I tell you. It's amazing, right? Because look, if we took a time machine and went back to the beginning of this season, and you're like, wow, look at that lineup. You've got the best fantasy team assembled of all time. You got the Avengers of fantasy football. And then you're like, oh, those are actually like the rejects. Yeah, those are like
the surprise duds of the year, and you have two of them on your team.
What was the name of the Marvel movie that nobody saw? The one with like Camille and Johnny?
Oh yeah, the Eternals.
Yeah, so you thought you drafted the Avengers and you got the Eternals instead. You're like, dang! Oh, this is over before it started. But yeah, I mean, look at that lineup. I mean, at the beginning of the season, that all those are like, you're like, oh, this
is jazzed.
Amazing.
Super jazzed.
But then again, it just shows how competitive this league is and how competitive football is and just how competitive fantasy football is. The thing I'm noticing a lot in my league right now is just how much there's 12 teams, right? And I would say about two teams are like kind of like at the head of the pack. And even though I have, I think I'm third in my power rankings, I still don't consider myself part of those elite two. Like I'm nipping at their heels. Yeah, I mean, like my record doesn't reflect it. That's what it is, So and then we have two at the bottom. I think that that it's like maybe three, but literally. So that leaves 7 teams, like all bunched in the middle right now, and all of them are fighting for playoff positioning, and they all are good. And I don't know what's going to happen. You just have to do your homework, draft the right, or go on the waiver wire, get the right guys out the waiver wire, or just trust your gut and hope that you're starting the right people at this time of year because it's crunch time for sure. This is make it or break it for real. Like either you're going to the playoffs or you're not. It's just that simple. So yeah, I feel the pressure because even though I have an opponent that is behind me in the standings, he could very easily win out and get that last playoff spot. And even though I could potentially even lose both of my games and still maybe potentially squeak in with a wild card, but I don't want to trust that. Like I've got realistically, I could go 1-1 and still get a wild card, but I don't even want to trust that. Like I'm putting all my energy obviously into going 2-0 and winning out because that's the guarantee that I'll make the playoffs. If I win both of my games, I'll make the playoffs. Just that simple.
Yeah, it feels like unless you have 8 or 9 wins, you're on the bubble. You're just on the bubble. And if you lose these 2 games, it could go south and then you're in 7th place and you just missed it. And then I've done this. You still follow week to week and you're like, ooh, I would have won the championship if I just made it in. You see, like now my team's getting hot and the pain of that. And then, you kind of turn into one of those super villains like, next time, Gadget, next time. Like you're like ready. And now you got to wait 9 months for football again.
I mean, but it's realistically, it's almost like how real football operates too. Like a lot of teams, they know that, look, we just have to get in the playoffs. I think the Kansas City Chiefs worked that strategy. They're like, look, let's just get in the playoffs. And it doesn't matter if we're the 5th seed or the 6th seed or the 4th seed. We're going to win the Super Bowl. And they've done that a couple times. And so, I think teams just, they know that they can hit flat tires and they can hit dips in the season where people are like, oh my gosh, the Raiders just beat the Chiefs. They're never going to win a Super Bowl again. Da, 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 da. And you listen to that hype. And then all of a sudden the Chiefs go on a 7-game winning streak and they win the Super Bowl. So that's just one example. That's just one example. But literally, I feel as if there's no way to properly predict any of it. I mean, if we just looked at winning records, right, it would, I mean, the end of the season, right, it would be the Rams versus the Broncos right now. I mean, that would
Patriots.
be our or the Patriots versus the Rams. I mean, is that really our Super Bowl? We'll see. I don't think so.
Probably not. I mean, the Rams are getting hot at the right. I mean, I don't know if hot's the right term. They've been good almost all year.
They're looking good.
And Matthew Stafford, I remember, rewind 12 weeks ago, I didn't want to draft Puka Nacua because I thought Matthew Stafford was hurt with his back and how silly that was, right? And Devontae Adams is such a surprise hit. If people took a little gamble on him, he's like almost a guaranteed touchdown every game. So there's just like, the stories of this year are just sort of like some veterans coming back with a vengeance, some rookies kind of hanging in there, but then petering out, running back committees, injuries. You called it with Darnell Mooney doing well that 1 week. I didn't need him and didn't need to take the risk because you're talking about, I think, 3 or 4 receptions. But he's the kind of player, much like a Jamison Williams, that he's just a home run hitter. If he catches one, that's his whole game.
Well, not only that, but, he's the WR1 in Atlanta right now. And granted, their offense is not that great. Their team is not that great, but they got the dub, and they got the dub because a guy like Darnell Mooney stepped up to the plate and was able to step in for an injured Drake London, which, let's face it, it's not it's kind of hard to do. So, I mean,
I miss Drake.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I give. I mean, look, the Atlanta was actually underdog in that game. New Orleans was favored miraculously somehow, but Atlanta, I mean, a 24-10 victory over New Orleans, which, let's face it, it's New Orleans, but hey, that's a statement that they're there to win, and we'll see what happens. They got another game this week against the Jets, a game that they should win, and a game that is going to just confuse things in the NFC South if, once again, it's just so crowded. I mean, you've got Tampa Bay, who's like kind of like they look great some weeks and they don't look so great other weeks. So they've got an interesting test against Jacoby Brisket, who I love calling him Brisket, and the Arizona Cardinals, but they're finally back home at Tampa Bay, so they might win that game. They might win that game. But also, you've got the old Carolina Panthers. But I mean, do they surprise the Rams at home? That might happen. Who knows? We'll see.
Bryce Young is on his 5th life of 7, if he's a cat. And last week he did 400 plus yards and looked like all right, he's the answer. And then, it went away the next week, which is kind of predictable.
Well, because he's not expected to throw 400 yards every week, and that's also the nature of fantasy football. It's like a roller coaster. You just have to kind of trust your instinct that, all right, this guy had a bad week against this defense or this system, but I wonder how he'll perform this week against this defense, and especially if he's got the same. He's got the same O-line. He's got the same, weapons, on at wide out and tight end. So nothing really changed in that regard. So sometimes it's just also maybe it could be weather too. Sometimes the weather just doesn't cooperate with football, and certainly when it doesn't cooperate with fantasy football stats. And the windier it is, the colder it is, the snowier it is, it could really affect the stats. So
the running back year it gets.
Though, 100%. and then you just hope you have a running back like Saquon Barkley who can, rack it up in weather like that. So
because he's kind of disappeared this year. He's one of those people were sort of on it. He had too many touches the year before. However, other predictions from fantasy gurus, Christian McCaffrey getting hurt hasn't happened. So it's just, you can listen to them or not. It's your team. You make the choice.
I'm telling you, dude, Philadelphia is one of those teams, kind of like Kansas City, like I just mentioned. They just need to get in the playoffs, and then once they're there, then they're like, all right, because they've been there before. They're like, look, this is a friggin' 17 game season. Like and football's hard on the body. It's so hard on the body. So these guys are just, they realize, I think guys like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and the people who are starting to sort of figure out that mold understand that, let's take our time. It's okay if we lost that game. It's okay if we lost that game. As long as we just get in the playoffs, then we know when to throw it in overdrive. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh my gosh, we thought these guys were done for. And guess what? They just kicked our ass, on our home turf. So it'll be interesting to see. I think the Eagles are a deceptively smart team, and that O-line still knows how to push people around. And that's kind of like where the real meat and potatoes of your offense really starts with a good O-line. And Philadelphia has one of the best in the NFL. So I'm just curious to see what happens in the playoffs once Philly gets in there. I mean, it's going to be awesome. Actually, I'm looking forward to the playoffs. Well, because let's be honest, like we were talking about, it's just very unpredictable this year. Super unpredictable. We don't know if the Rams are going to go, or if Philly's going to go, or if the Detroit Lions are going to go. Some people don't even have Detroit in their top 10. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is an offensive juggernaut. And people don't think that, they've got Green Bay listed ahead of them, Some people think Dallas has a chance with their very low percentage of making the playoffs right now, has a chance to squeak in. We'll see. They looked, obviously, coming back from a 21-0 deficit against the Super Bowl champs is impressive. So, I would like to see Dallas continue to win, and obviously they have a very tough challenge against Kansas City on Thanksgiving Day. So we'll see what happens.
That's a great transition to review my teams. Game specifically, the Eagles versus the Cowboys. I mean, it was a little bit like Christmas for me because in my sleeper league, I traded for AJ Brown and I have Jalen Hurts. And so when that play like that happens, when he throws a touch, he was targeting him a lot in the beginning, right? And I'm like, okay, it's starting off great. And I even asked in a chat between you and Pedro, is it Chris O-lave or AJ Brown? I really was wondering because I've been burned so many times. But I decided to take the chance. And when he scored the touchdown, that means it's more like 15 points in one play. I was like, okay, I think I'm due for a win. And so that was just part of it. And I think you're right about the Eagles. Like, they are acting a lot like the Chiefs this year, the way that the Chiefs had been in years previous, where they're just kind of in reserve. They don't have anything to prove. And so they're in reserve. And if they lost that game versus the Cowboys, it's like, whatever. And so, And so we have Jalen Hurts getting 30 points. You just mentioned. I put in Emmanuel Wilson. I actually was choosing between him and Breece Hall. And so I should have probably sat, a few other running backs like DeAndre Swift and put Hall in, but who knows what's going to happen. So that was literally like a last second switch. And I just saw him destroy. And I was so happy to I don't like benching Breece Hall. But, I just was like, this guy's up for a lot of carries and he's on a better offense. So I put Emmanuel Wilson in. I was rewarded for that. DeAndre Swift, he kind of fumbled the ball. He lost a lot of carries. I'm worried about him week to week. So I have Monangai too. And I think I have to sit him. I don't really know what's going to happen this next game.
I love that you almost said Emmanuel Lewis like it was Webster that was out there catching the ball.
It was. It really was. Mr. Collins. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I just think it'd be so funny if we just drafted TV characters instead of football players. Okay, man, I got Webster as my starting wideout, and I've got Arnold from Different Strokes as my quarterback, and Alex P. Keaton is my kicker this year.
I think in the award season, you can kind of draft people. Maybe, I don't know. You could. It wouldn't work the same. I guess you'd just have picks, and then you'd have to just compete against people. That's a game for somebody else, but I'm sure it's out there.
Oh yeah, this is fantasy Emmys.
Fantasy Emmys.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, dude. Sorry.
No, it's all good. No, I love the commentary.
Back to Ramiro's regular folks.
My regular folks. Just quickly, Stefan Diggs didn't show up. Kelsey didn't really show up. AJ Brown's here. I was so happy. I picked up Carlos Santos because the Bears can score, but sometimes they don't and score a field goal instead. And then the Rams killed it. I was happy that I picked them up. They're just good defenses. And I was complaining last week that this roulette of matchups wasn't working. And so when I saw the Rams sitting there on waivers, I was like, they're a great defense. So I'm just going to start them every week from now on. And I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, no, good for you, buddy. Yeah, the Rams defense is also a big reason, not only of a lot of people's fantasy success, but certainly for the Rams' success as well, too.
100%. And so this is my matchup this week. I'm up against the other 8-4 team. His name is Team Big Dog. And yeah, he's got Josh Jacobs, so he's going to be starting this week. I heard that. Rico Dowdle has kind of fizzled out. AJ Brown's amazing, not as amazing as Jahmyr Gibbs, and then George Pickens. Wow, what a 1-2 punch. Got Mr. Ferguson on his team, and then Michael Wilson. What the hell? The new wideout one in Arizona. Brandon Aubrey's a great kicker, and the Tampa Bay defense I'm not as scared of. And so, on my side, again, I need to decide my running backs. Do I leave DeAndre Swift and Breece Hall in? Jay Harvey is there. We have Diggs, O-lave. I want to put O-lave in. He's questionable for some reason this week. So I just need to look at the injury reports and stuff. But yeah, I'm wondering what you think about DeAndre Swift, because I have him on this team and another team that doesn't matter. But do you see him sinking? Do you think it's Monangai's field from now on?
It's so tough, man, because Monangai's been scoring points and then he doesn't score points. He's kind of hot and cold. But that's just like we were talking about. It's the nature of fantasy football. So just look, they both are going to be going up against Philly's defense, which look, the prospect of going up against Philly's defense is never good, especially if you're a running back, it seems. But Javonte Williams squeaked out a pretty decent game against them last week. Mm-hmm. So look, somebody's going to get the ball and somebody's going to score touchdowns. And man, I don't know, man. I'm curious as to who. I'm sure the experts are telling you to start Swift over Monangai. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, for sure. They don't believe that he really lost the backfield yet. They think he was temporarily punished for the fumble, and they don't think that he lost the backfield. I think It is a tough matchup. It's not one I'm looking forward to. I mean, I'm going to be watching the game, obviously. And so if he does well on my bench, it'll be a little bit of a sting. So we'll see. It'll come down to a few things, but it's either I put O-lave in my flex or I start, RJ Harvey. So
yeah, and O-lave just got a injury, questionable designation.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make me happy because I have him on my team as well too. And they're playing the Jets, or who are they playing? No, they're playing Miami.
They're playing Miami. Should be a good matchup.
Yeah, it should be
points.
decent. Yeah. I mean, look, if he's healthy, start O-lave, right? If he's not healthy, then oh man, you're gonna have to just get creative there, because if you're gonna start Harvey, oh my gosh, Harvey versus who's he playing against? The Washington Commanders.
Yeah. Their run defense isn't great. And, he took over the lead in the Kansas City game and he didn't do great. He was great when he was like the second banana for a few weeks. He had his boom games, but we'll see. I mean, like, it's tough. Like, I think DeAndre Swift's a better running back. And he gets used in the passing game. So I think I favor him over Harvey. And I'm going to be very tempted to play him because he plays on Friday. So we'll see. I think it's a short week. But it might just be that he's one of those players that's clutch and helps the Bears keep it close. If not win, would be great to see.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting for sure. I mean, it should be a gritty game. It's 8-3. Look, the Bears aren't toast if they lose that game.
True.
But when you've got Green Bay and Detroit on your heels, it's uncomfortable. It's a very crowded field in the NFC North, and it just reminds me of my own fantasy football league, because we just have like a bunch of like 7-4 type teams that are jockeying for the playoff spots. I would think that they're probably, like I said, only 2 real locks in my league right now with 2 weeks to go. So you essentially have 4 slots and 7 teams. That means that 3 of those teams are going to be essentially sent to the toilet bowl bracket.
Yeah, the pooper bowl.
The pooper bowl, exactly.
We've got our next series here to look at. My Yahoo team, dog wearing sunglasses. It's just lucky. I only have the 7th most points, but I'm in 4th place. And it's because you see these booms in this team. So I have a Rashee Rice scoring 24. I have Kareem Hunt scoring almost 20. And the kicker and defense showing up as well. And of course, Jalen Hurts with some bonus points has 32. And so I was stoked to see all these things come to fruition. I had the Falcons last week and I was mad that they only scored me 4 points. And of course, I went with the better defense, right? That was my new strategy. New England was there. I picked them up and they did well, even though the matchup wasn't amazing because Cincinnati can score a ton of points. The Falcons scared me and they scored more points, but you know what? I'm okay riding out the New England defense, of course, until they're bye on week 14. But I just can't keep playing this roulette with defenses. And so I'll have to do something week 14. But for now, I'm happy that I've went with just stronger defenses instead of matchups. My opponent went with the Raiders, right? And that matchup looked juicy, but they only ended up scoring 5 points versus Cleveland, who ended up winning that game.
Well, I mean, I think you and we talked about that game last week, and I just knew that my Raiders. That's how much I love my stupid Raiders. I knew they were going to lose that game. And so they lost that game. And I knew Shedeur would be his coming out party, right? So that's exactly what happened. I like Shedeur, so I'm just going to throw that out there as well too. I like the fact that he fell so far in the draft. I like the fact that everyone doesn't believe in him and they think that he's too full of himself and that he can't lead a franchise. I just feel like he's going to prove all of those people wrong. He looked slick against the Raiders, and I expect him to keep that momentum rolling against the 49ers this week. So that's an interesting game. I'm looking forward to talking about it later, and I'll give you my real prediction on it. Oh, dude, can I share my screen? Can I do that?
Of course, dude.
Yeah,
you press present
yeah,
invite,
hold on,
and you can show your screen. There it is. There's your beautiful 181. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
Look at that. You gonna frame this? You gonna print it out?
Beep, 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 beep. How funny would that be if I like literally like printed it out and like framed it like like on my office? That one time I scored 181 points. Yeah, but yeah, I mean as you can see, there's just like no real weak link other than maybe Mark Andrews, who scored 2.1. But what you can't see on that screen, what you can't see on that screen grab though is that look, I have Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, and Kate Otten.
You have so many tight ends.
So many tight ends. I'm hogging the tight ends, and it's for a reason. It's for a reason. But I all three of them didn't really play well on Sunday. So, but I'm just lucky that that my guys ended up doing well, and I didn't need the tight end points that week. So
true. You stayed true to Breece Hall. Yeah, I mean your duds were Mark Andrews and Chris Boswell, who normally is kicking field goals left to right. They just were scoring touchdowns that game versus my Bears. J-Mar, during our break where I refilled my Coke Zero, you brought up a good point about trades.
Yes.
One, they should just not happen anymore. They should line up with the NFL trades. I think you could maybe go a week or two after, but once you get past week 11, I feel like any trades start to get suspicious because there's teams that are looking like they're eliminated.
Yeah, there's like we were just saying that there are teams that just are starting to obviously tank, and neglectful owners who start people who are on bye weeks, and it's just clear that their head is not into it, and they're just not into it, and they have a losing record to prove it. But then all of a sudden you start seeing some of these people making questionable trades that aren't worth the same value, where they could potentially be some just dishonesty going on behind the scenes, where I don't know if they mean it to be this way, but all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, how did this person trade for 2 superstars and just gave up 2 duds in return? So it just raises eyebrows, and it makes commissioners and very hyper aware owners kind of raise their eyebrows, where it's like, what's happening here? So I don't know, maybe fantasy karma will get you. Let's say the fantasy karma gods will get you that way. But I feel in order to curb that is exactly what you mentioned. Just make the trade deadline happen a couple weeks before now. This is like the nitty gritty. Trades happening now are only destined to create a little bit of an imbalance with other teams. And it just seems a little unfair, especially right now, because everything's so slim in the waiver wire, where you're like, oh, you're really hoping at this point just for maybe somebody to fall off, or you're not hoping for somebody to get injured, but that's okay. Look, this person got injured, so now I could stick their replacement that I didn't have handcuffed, and I can get them off the waiver wire. So it's a very strange scenario, but I mean, I'm in a keeper league, and a lot of the same owners for a lot of the same years, and I know a lot of these guys, and it's just an interesting observation that there were 0 trades this year. 0. It just shows that I don't know if trading is kind of like an arcane thing, or if people just aren't doing it anymore, or what, but it's just interesting to note that literally every owner in my league, just even though that maybe they were propositioned with a trade, just never followed through with it because they felt their team was either going to survive or they didn't need to make the trade.
It's more interesting with the keeper league, trades with redraft leagues, it has to be earlier to matter. And so the trade that happened to me was this player wanted Josh Allen, of course, and he was willing to trade me Quentin Johnson, Brock Purdy, and the Browns defense. And to me, I'm like, I'm eliminated. if I accept this trade proposal, what do I get? Right. I think what I get is being in cahoots with this player who people are going to reject this trade. I mean, he's 8-4, I'm 4-8. Him having Josh Allen will tip the balance into his favor. So I just said in the message, hey man, I'm just gonna let my team ride it out. I'm gonna try to play spoiler, and so I'm not gonna do this trade. I don't think it's enough even to move it. I think Josh Allen's worth more than Brock Purdy, and then two players that are very, like the Browns defense maybe. But I did two trades this year. I traded with people I knew. I think that helps a lot. So I traded with Pedro famously on this podcast. And then I traded with Ramiro. And so he's also a friend of the podcast. And that I talked about that on the show. And that team was losing. I had AJ Brown. I went with two players who I hope would help me, and they just didn't. They were duds the weeks I had them, or I didn't start them because I didn't think Kenneth Walker would show up. And so I think now it's just week, you're going into week 13. It's just too late. It's too late to trade now. It's too late. So it needs to change. It needs to change, man. I mean, it's.
I agree, dude.
Yeah.
It's a little bit fishy, and at this point, it's like, all right, just like the NFL teams, right? Hey, you had your chance, and everybody's done what they needed to do, and now just
what you got to do is you got to convince someone to drop somebody, like a Brandon Cooks in real life football. They dropped him from the Saints, and then the Bills picked him up.
Yeah,
that's what they can do, right? And I remember having Brandon Cooks back in the day, and he was good on the Houston Texans, and he did pretty good for me. I didn't win at all that year, but I remember the name, Hey,
man, he cooks, bro.
He missed out. Wrong era. He just needed to be like 5-6 years younger, and Brandon Cooks coulda, shoulda, woulda. You ready?
My favorite.
It's your favorite. I coulda started Kenneth Walker again, but I didn't. Why? I had one of those moments where I just thought that other players would show up. I couldn't bench Quentin Johnson, Quinshon Judkins. Sorry, I had Quinshon. Too many Quins in this league. Quinshon Judkins. So I said literally that I should have started him, and he'd be my running back too. And I it didn't matter. This is the hockey leagues. I lost by 50 points. So I think I just ran out of energy. That team, losing and becoming 4-8 and being eliminated, it just was like, all right, or 4-7 even. I just felt like this team wasn't going to do it. So I just didn't spend that much time thinking about it.
All good, man. It happens, dude. And I'm sorry that the Hochulis, rest in peace.
I think what makes me the most sad is I like the name so much.
You're like, I really wanted this team to win the Super Bowl.
I wanted to show off my guns, my referee secret guns, and I just couldn't, So is it the name? Was it the confidence? I don't know, man. I mean, they'll be back. They'll be back next year. And I learned some things about this league. This league has been around a while. I was a newbie, and they all loved the running back. So by the time I started drafting running backs, it was very thin. I had Amarian Hampton, who became an awesome pick. He got hurt, so that was part of the luck, right? Losing someone that was so good later in the rounds, and I didn't have somebody to replace him.
Apparently he's going to be back this week. So
I know, too late, man.
Too late, buddy. Too late for the Hochulis.
To fantasy football, it's too late. So it's too late for the hockey leagues. I'm going to try to play.
Are you officially eliminated?
Yes,
okay.
I'm officially eliminated. It's got the little E. It's embarrassing, man. It's just like, it hurts. It hurts, but I'm just gonna, I've joined new leagues where I've been last place or last place-ish, and I've found my way back. And I just know now that everyone just attacks running backs, and I'm gonna have to kind of join the crowd. And it wasn't my strategy for most of my teams. I didn't go running back rounds 1 or 2, not even round 3. So I waited till round 4, and this year is a little tricky to do that with. And so, I needed to find later round running backs. And so I think I'm going to go back to a mix where it's like my first 2 picks have to be running back, wide out running back. I just felt like my teams weren't balanced enough, and the variance was too high.
Well, you know, what can I say, dude? You know, the Hockulis, bro, they gave it
their all, dude. I mean, it takes the same amount of effort to be 4-8 than it does 8-4. But I convinced Ramiro to join more than one league, and he's happy too because he's there with me, man. I mean, he's he's 3-9, so like we're both not doing well on this league, but in the sleeper league, he's in first place and I'm in second place. So it's just I drafted round 12 and so far so good. So like,
yeah,
I feel good about that too.
It's so weird, man, because obviously, you know, like you're in 3 leagues and I'm in 1 league, right? I just don't have the bandwidth for more than 1 league. I just don't, you know, like my work just dominates my life. So I just have 1 league guy, and it just focuses me up, hopefully, to just kind of like, you know, do the Zen thing. But I know several people like you, man, that they are in multiple leagues. You know, I guess 3 is like a fair average for a lot of people. Like, yeah, and you hear this, people say, "Oh, in my other league." Oh, in my other league. You know, you hear that. I hear
In
that
my other
phrase.
league.
In my other league. Well, I might suck in this league, but in my other league,
You don't even know me, man. You should see
me in my other
Yeah.
league. Yeah, it's like, all right, yeah, whatever, bro.
I get to try 3 slightly different strategies. I mean, I went with a similar strategy of wide out for most of these leagues. And I've tried them all. Like I've tried one. I didn't like it because if the one was the hockey leagues, I'd just be bummed out, dude. I'd just be so sad. I'm alive in 2 leagues, which makes me feel good. I did 3 leagues last year. I've tried 5, and that's when it got like ridiculous because I started rooting for players and against players in this weird matrix where it was like, well, it's okay if he does pretty good, but he can't do so well because I'm facing that same player at another team. And it stopped being fun after that. It was just a bunch of numbers. And I want to have teams where I have my favorites, right? I have Jalen Hurts. So he's on 2 of my teams. I had AJ Brown on 2 of my teams, right? Like I have some favorites and I don't have everybody. And so there's players I'm definitely rooting for. So 3 is the sweet spot for me. And it does take a little bit more time, but not much. It's just enough time, but also gives me some more chances to win. And that makes me feel good.
Yeah, I for some reason it's just too much for me, man. Like my brain starts kind of like firing off and like it's like communication breakdown. It's just too much for me. So I just have to concentrate on 1 league. And even though, you know, there's a potential of not doing well in the league, that's why I love my league so much, is because the top half of our league goes into the playoffs. And like the, you know, Kansas City Chiefs or the Philadelphia Eagles example that I put last week, I mean, just getting into the playoffs is just the victory, right? Because then all of a sudden that 6th seed could be your Super Bowl victor. But then for the remaining half of the owners that don't make the playoffs, we have a consolation prize called the Toilet Bowl. And if you win the Toilet Bowl, that is the yellow brick road to having the number 1 pick next year. So even if you're a dud, you know, and even though your team sucks, there is no reason to give up or slack off or be a negligent owner because you're fighting for the number 1 draft pick next year. I mean, that's if you buy into the whole, you know, league, I guess. You have to kind of be excited about it. But it for me, it's exciting because then it's like, all right, great. I got the first pick next year. I didn't do well, but at least I fought to get the first pick in the draft next year. And that's always a pretty nice position to be in because you're liable to take the best player that's available in your draft. I mean, that's so exciting. I'd love to take the best player in the draft. So
yes, and especially in a keeper league, having an earlier pick is going to matter way more. So all these awesome players are gone. 24 of the best players are already gone. So that first round is that much more important to just try to keep up with everybody. You know the teams that you're going to be more afraid of. It's like, all right, somebody's going to have Jackson Smith and Jigba next year.
Yeah,
catch lots of footballs. That's intimidating. And if they pair that up with with a Josh Allen, holy shit, right? Like you're already like looking at that team like they're super favorited, and
now you pair them up with a running back like Jahmyr Gibbs, and then all of a sudden people are like, why I don't want to face this team, you know? I mean, there's a couple teams that really, you know, you're just like, oh my gosh, if you're like, oh, I've got Bijan Robinson, I've got, you know, Jackson Smith and Jigba and Josh Allen on the same team. That's scary. I don't want to face that team.
That's scary, Terry.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Where is my Terry McLaurin? Where is he?
Man.
Remember when you thought you were going to keep him and you didn't?
I'm so happy that I did not do that. Yeah, because I believed in the guy's talent, and he's still talented. He's just had some injury issues, and I guess, you know, there was also just that weird whole thing that went down with his contract, and he felt underappreciated. So I'm curious if that has factored into his poor fantasy play this year. So I mean, it's just maybe a little bit of both, or maybe it's just bad luck, or maybe it's just not his year. It's just but I mean, from what I saw from last year, that guy has definitely got skills. He's definitely got hands. He's definitely does things with the ball after the catch. So maybe he just needs a refresher. He needs to go take a nice, you know, walk in nature with Aaron Rodgers, and then he'll come back a different man and ready to snap back into it.
For someone who goes into the forest and works with shamans, Aaron Rodgers is not chill. I'm sorry. Like, dude does ayahuasca, comes back and is still high strung as hell. So, you know, maybe you're not doing it right, bro. Maybe you're not doing it right.
I mean, he's a pretty smart dude. I saw his Jeopardy the week that he hosted Jeopardy, and I thought he did a really good job. I thought it was like, oh,
well, good for him.
Yeah, I thought that he, you know, kind of was flashing off that Cal Berkeley degree pretty well, because he wasn't just a dumb jock up there, and he certainly has done and said enough things in his career where it just, you know, looks like he just puts his foot in his mouth like over and over again. But I thought he did well on Jeopardy. So I don't know. You're absolutely right. Aaron Rodgers, yeah, he could exude a little bit more chill.
I mean, the guy has some intelligence, which for like a football player makes him seem like a genius. But dude, like he looks like the tortured genius out there. Like he's like, oh, if only everyone knew how smart I was. Like it's just too much, you know. And it's hard for me to like the guy for many reasons, of course, because he played for the Packers. But he's just smug, man. He's just super smug. And I'm glad he did okay at Jeopardy. I'm glad that, you know, he didn't end up playing. I think Mason Rudolph, played better than him, to be honest. I mean, he did great in his steed. So, like, it was a tough game. And I'm derailing coulda, woulda, shoulda, J-Mar. So, getting back to the woulda, I woulda started Chris Olave over Stefan Diggs if I knew how little Diggs would be targeted in the Cincy game. I looked at the Cincy game. I thought it'd be a great matchup. Stefan Diggs had been Mr. Reliable, but so had Chris Olave. And I'm in a half-point PPR, so it's not the same thing. He gets lots of receptions, but he doesn't get as many points. I could see him as like a dog superhero in the cartoon NFL version where they're all dogs, but they're also all superheroes, and it's Stefan Dogs.
Stefan Dogs. You should go play for the Cleveland Browns. You know, wear some floppy dog ears.
Oh, so that's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. You have Chris Olave too, and I see your team makeup. You're just never sitting him, are you?
I mean, if he's going to be injured this week, yeah, I'll have to be forced to sit him. But fact of the matter is, he's WR1 in New Orleans, and even when Spencer Rattler was throwing him the ball, he was still making things happen at a very sort of quiet level, but very productive, quiet level. And oddly enough, now that Tyler Shough, or whatever you pronounce his last name,
I've heard it's Shuck with a K at the end, even though there's no K. He shucks things. That's it.
I heard Shough with a G at the end.
It's wrong.
Shough.
It's wrong. Shuck.
It's Shuck.
Shuck with the hard K. Yeah, like Shuck, like I shuck.
That's weird, dude. It's just weird.
Look it up, dude. I'm telling you.
Dude, hold on.
Dude, I'm telling you. You were saying Chris O-lave for a few episodes, and I let it go. And now you're telling me it's not Shuck. I'm telling you, man, it's Shuck.
Tyler Shuck.
You're gonna Google this live on the internet airwaves. Fine, J-Mar. This coulda, woulda, shoulda segment is just blown up while you Google. Okay, just hold on.
Pedro can always edit this out, and
he's gonna have to edit it out. Well, what I want him to do is
fired up,
rewind and reverse and go and then make us repeat things. Like I just want to see that because
that's so
this
weird.
has been blown up, dude.
Look at this, dude. Look,
what is it? What is it?
It says, look, Tyler Shugg's last name is pronounced Shuck.
I told you. Rhyming
with words like shuck corn or Shuck.
Or Shaquille O'Neal, who sells everything.
Despite looking like it would be pronounced show or shook or shock or shug, the correct pronunciation is Shuck. I give up, dude. I think English is the worst language.
No, I think he just made up his own last name. Like, you don't just get to decide how letters sound. The GH doesn't become a K anywhere, dude. So thank you for that. I mean, O-lave, we talked about it, right? We centered on him. When you're WR1 on a team, you're going to get targets. It's what happened to Darnell Mooney. It's what's happening with Chris O-lave. And Chris O-lave, 2 years ago was a hot draft pick. He was in the first 4 rounds. Same thing with last year. He had a concussion issue. He was wearing the big helmet, but he's a first round talent, and he's sticking around with the Saints. And so I took a chance on him, take a chance, and it worked out, right? And so he's been solid when I do start him. But I also have Stefan Diggs, who's like old man coming out of retirement, showing up and making points happen with an emerging QB. So it's always tempting for me between those two. It's a good problem to have if Mr. O-lave, not O-lave, O-lave starts. I'm gonna put him in. But if not, I'm gonna put Stefan Dogs in and see how those dogs bark.
See, dude, I was pronouncing it O-lave, but you pronounce it dogs. So
on accident, because I'm just messing it up in my head. I don't know.
Apparently, we can't all be perfect, but you
what? Dude, I mean, come on. Your team's doing well.
But
you don't always pronounce last names correctly. I sometimes mess up names in the middle of saying them for no reason. Even though I know it's Diggs. There's no dogs in there.
The good thing though is for
the great thing
for the 3 people that watch our show.
Yes.
Now know that you pronounce it Shuck because of its Scottish roots.
And I can't do a good Scottish accent. I used to do a very bad Sean Connery. What all I would do is like, I'm Sean Connery, brrr, like that's it, and it would be purposely bad. And that's like, my last name's Shuck, brrr. Like I don't know, it's just bad on purpose. And getting down to the last of my 3-letter acronyms, I should have drafted a different first pick. Justin Jefferson might finally be a sit for me this week. I mean, who is starting for the Vikings? Who? Bromer? I mean,
Max BROZ-mer.
Max BROZ-mer, which sounds like a made-up name that would be played by Roger on American Dad. It's a made-up name. So he's a made-up QB. I have no idea how well he's going to do. He scares me. And I've got Stefan Diggs on that team too. So it's going to be between Stefan Diggs and Justin Jefferson for me. And I'm not happy, man. Like I want a do-over. Justin Jefferson, I was kind of like, hey, they wouldn't have let Sam Darnold walk if they didn't feel like JJ was something. And the answer was, I think JJ is still a project and he may reemerge again on another team. Like we've seen a few quarterback projects, but right now, I was like, why is Justin Jefferson falling to the 6th, 7th, 8th place? Now I know why. I got egg on my face. And, before all of that, I wanted Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like that was my target. And Justin Jefferson fell on my lap and I had to click on it because I just never had the opportunity to have him on my team before. Now I know what it's like. And this is not the fun version, J-Mar.
Well, look, I mean, take the time machine back to week 1. And against the Chicago Bears, he had that awful 3 quarters and everybody, like literally my everybody's so hyped for the football season week 1, right?
Mhm.
Like all my friends like kind of over text each other and everybody's just chomping at the bit because it's week 1 and you just want to see everybody do well and score 80 points right off the gate. But when JJ was struggling in those first 3 quarters, I was getting texts just left and right from even like from in our text thread with Zamero and your brother Pedro. Like everybody was like, JJ McCarthy looks terrible. He's awful. This dude stinks. He's not ready for prime time. And then he showed up in the fourth quarter of that game and got the dub. I mean, he almost kind of put the team on his back to get that dub as well too. So look, he's a rookie. That's and he looked that he's looked terrible ever since then. He got injured. So it's just going to be interesting to see what happens. Look, Max BROZ-mer this week might like. I mean, look, the odds of him turning into like the next Tom Brady, and just next man up kind of scenario, and next thing you know, we're going to be watching insurance commercials with Max BROZ-mer in 10 years,
Maybe.
and this is his coming out game. I mean, look, the odds of that happening are at this point don't look like that. But how does that affect your team? I mean, look, BROZ-mer's got to throw the ball to somebody, and Seattle does have a good defense. Oh yeah, it's a tough pick. I mean, that's awful. I would hate to be in your shoes, man, because
Yeah, thanks. I feel
true.
it.
It's true. No. As a fantasy owner, that's just a really shitty scenario because you're like, wow, do I go with this guy who's just kind of older, but has found new life on a team and has been doing well, but not well every week.
Mhm.
And New England, as we know, just likes to spread that love. It's never like they have like one player that just dominates week to week. It's just it's a real team scenario going on in New England. Uh, I mean, I'd be compelled to choose Diggs, but oh man, it's like once again, how do you say no to Justin Jefferson? The guy is just we talked about the 40 burger, the 50 burger last week. I mean, he is that guy that could
That's a lot
potentially
of burgers, J-Mar.
it's 50
And we
burgers,
all
man.
know JJ McCarthy can't cook. So
Yeah. Not this. Yeah. Well, but that's why
not
they got
lately.
BROZ-mer cooking those burgers this week.
Max
They're like,
BROZ-mer's double cheeseburger with fries.
dude,
Maybe
it'll be an interesting episode next week because I want to follow up on that's
on
like
my
a
choice.
well,
I don't
no.
know.
Well, I'm definitely want to follow up on your choice, but I'm definitely am curious to see how Max BROZ-mer does and how that affects every single offensive player on the Minnesota Vikings.
On the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, if it were Jameis Winston, I'd be celebrating. I'd be handing out cigars. I'd be like, JJ is out. I got Jameis Winston in. He's going to throw to Justin Jefferson and Addison. He's going to have fun. He's going to catch footballs. I mean, what a show. What a show.
What a shock.
And what a shuck. Shucks is what, you're going to see that in New Orleans newspapers for a while.
What a shock.
What a shuck.
I will. Well, just I still want to continue on this topic, dude, because
of Shuck or of Justin Jefferson.
Of Justin Jefferson, because
more of
the Minnesota Vikings.
Minnesota Vikings. Well, look. Like we're cutting a little bit into they're facing the Seahawks, right? Which is, again, the NFL's gotten better at building stories. It's a great story. We have Sam Darnold, who looks fantastic. He has his wideout one, right? His new Justin Jefferson is Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I mean, it just makes the Minnesota Vikings look pretty bad that they traded away Sam Darnold and got essentially a rookie potential bust in JJ McCarthy. His stats are awful right now. So, I mean, look, the experiment should carry over into next season. Give the guy another chance. But look, I mean, we talked about it, a couple episodes ago. It's like Baker Mayfield. Like, I mean, the dude knows, what he's doing. And the Cleveland Browns, put him in the trash bin, I mean, how much
Yes.
better would Cleveland be right now if they had Baker Mayfield at the helm of their quarterback?
They just couldn't do it. They couldn't hang on, right?
No, they couldn't hang on.
So that's my coulda, woulda, shoulda. I'll see. I was hoping Justin Jefferson would get better, and maybe he will. The schedule gets a little bit better for them, and so right now he's like my wideout 3. He's in my flex spot, and it's sad for me. What are your coulda, woulda, shoulda, J-Mar?
Oh man,
How could you have any?
I don't. I've got. This is one of the rare weeks when I don't have any coulda, shoulda, wouldas because I completely dominated and scored the most points in my league. No, I do have some coulda, shoulda, wouldas. So I did make mention of some of this earlier, but my couldas. Look, I've got 3 tight ends by design. One is to hoard tight ends, so nobody, because it's such a skill position that everybody needs a tight end, and I feel like it's one of those positions where like either you've got a George Kittle that you start every week, or you're just doing the old waiver wire dance where you're like, oh, there's a good matchup that Tyler Ferguson has, or that one of these other deadbeat tight ends has. I mean, they
become used cars pretty quick, man. If you don't have like the top 6, 7, it's 6, 7. It becomes stupid. It's like Jawan, Johnson is my tight end in the Hochuli team, and he's going to stay there, but he's not great. But, I just got sick of switching around.
Well, as a cliffhanger for the next episode that I do, I'm going to let you guys know why I keep 3 tight ends. And
nice.
I'm not going to reveal it this week. But, but I started Mark Andrews, who tanked, and I could have started Kate Otten, who would have netted me 4 more points than my normal dominance.
You were 99% right.
Yeah, and so look, and that brings me to my shouldas. My shouldas. I thought about getting rid of Chris Boswell last week. I was like, do I get a new kicker? Just because I wasn't impressed with the output of points that the Pittsburgh Steelers had been doing the last 3 weeks, and also it's reflected in his overall score. Yeah, and he only scored 4 points for me this week, and I just I think I've given up on the Chris Boswell experiment. Not necessarily Chris Boswell because he's got a great leg, but it's just the offense that he plays for. Those guys aren't just giving him the opportunity to score extra points or putting him in position to score field goals. So I actually sought another kicker on the waiver wire. So I got Kaimi Fairbairn to take over Chris Boswell. So we'll see how Kaimi Fairbairn does. He's back. He's had some injuries, but I'm glad that he's back because he's, pretty much a decent, consistent kicker. And that's playing for what seems to be a consistent offense, or at least it gives him, the opportunity to score points because they like to score field goals as well. So we'll see how Kaimi Fairbairn does.
Fairbairn.
And then the Woodies. I mean, I talked about this earlier. Even though my guys were on a bye week, but it's just always the would be prospect of starting 2 wide receivers from the same team on your team. It's like, do I double dip and do the double Denver Bronco action? Do I do the Troy Franklin and the left hand right hand thing? I mean, it's a trip, right? You don't know who you're going to get, what you're going to get. And of course, if the whole team stumbles, then it's like, holy shit. It's like the build. That's the risk you take. If it's like a defensive juggernaut game and the quarterback and the wide receivers just aren't getting their thing done because of good defense or just poor offensive play, then that's the risk you take, and it could potentially lose you your entire game. But if things are clicking, then it could win you your entire game. So
it's no secret that my team, dog wearing sunglasses, rests completely on Jalen Hurts. So I have Dallas Goedert as my tight end. I have the Devonta Smith as a whiteout, and I sat him once, and he scored 32 points in that once. So it's like I can't sit him anymore. And last week they didn't have a high scoring game, and so it wasn't good. But when they do score well, it's how my team's been lucky with its current record, and that's its edge. And so I just lean towards the edge that I have. Like that's the boom, and I have to go towards the boom.
And this is an interesting prospect, obviously, because, you being the Bears fan, you're repping the C on the podcast this week. You're going up against Philly. So you got that thing where it's like tearing at you at the seams of your fibers, where you are rooting for Philly players to kick ass, but you don't want them to kick too much ass because you want Chicago to get the dub. So
I got players on both sides, and it's going to be, I think, a sneaky high scoring game. I think that Ben Johnson is a great offensive mind, and so it's going to be a good game for me to watch for so many reasons. It's on a holiday. Friday is basically a new holiday in America, the day after Thanksgiving. So I'm excited. It's the only game that day.
Black Friday. Me and my father-in-law are going to watch. We're going to have chicken. And it's gonna be awesome. So that team, I need to win out. I think it'll be good. I think them facing the Bears is good because the Bears can score points too. So it's gonna force them to keep scoring, and that's the ball game, J-Mar. Dude, best of luck to you, buddy. That's gonna be a great game to watch, and an exciting game, hopefully. And like I said, even if Chicago loses that game, it doesn't break the bank. But it's going to be a really good test. I mean, Philly just lost to Dallas, and they're going to be at home. Philly's going to be hungry, dude. So,
yeah, I could see the Bears putting up a dud too at the same time. So it's an anxious game. It's also a crowd 'em game. If the Bears win, I think everyone's going to come out and be like, Bears Super Bowl contender. Instead of just like they're going to win the division, I think people are going to be a little bit overhyped with this win.
Yeah, but
so
I see. Hey, to your point, dude, Ben Johnson, hats off, man. That guy has come in year one and has already made such a change in the culture, a change in the way how they approach winning is, even if it's ugly, is the way how you change the culture. And you can already tell by the energy in that locker room that people believe in each other, and that's only going to bode well for the longevity of Caleb Williams. I just hope that guy gets better.
J-Mar, if you're still looking for some players on waivers,
oh my gosh,
who do you think are good pickups?
Well, look, I mean, I think that everyone's pretty much set at quarterback already. But look, if you're having problems and you have got, guys that are getting hurt, couple of interesting scenarios. I mean, Tua against the New Orleans Saints this week I'd take that bet. He might hoist the ball, get some points. I actually like Shador. I think Shador is going to put up some points at home. He's somebody that I would pick up a QB. And I looked at my waiver wire, and CJ Stroud and Cam Ward were both available. Cam Ward against Jacksonville, CJ Stroud against Indy. Indy's got a decent defense, but just CJ Stroud has just been kind of finding a little bit of a rhythm. That whole team's been finding a little bit of a rhythm. So I wouldn't hate it if I saw one of my opponents pick up CJ Stroud. I would tip of the cap. I would respect that pick.
That's a good tip of the cap. I saw on QB Mariota is still sitting there. So if Jaden Daniels doesn't play, he's always been pretty good at filling. And Aaron Rodgers, though, I don't like the man. I did start him once, and he scored very well for me instead of my Josh Allen. And that team's cursed, though, so I don't want to talk about them too much.
No, yeah, the cursed team. Dude, at running at running back, dude, I saw a lovely fellow by the name of Devin Neal over there, plays for the New Orleans Saints, and that's a game against Miami. And Kamara is hurt-ish, so Devin Neal has had had a good game last week. So potentially somebody that you might want to pick up if you're having troubles at running back. Also, Jaleel McLaughlin with Denver, with J.K. Dobbins pretty much out against Washington. It looks like a lot of people are kind of like, how is Denver's offense going to exploit Washington in this game? So he'd be a decent pickup. Isaiah Pacheco's back. He's back from injury, and, he's got the interesting Thanksgiving Day game against the Dallas Cowboys. We'll see how that goes. And I mention this guy every week. You know what I'm going to say, right?
Jaden Higgins.
No, Devin Singletary. But I was going to mention Jaden Higgins too. But I feel like I mentioned Devin Singletary every week because guess what? He's still available in my waiver wire every week. And the guy, look, he didn't have a great game last week, but he's been scoring, producing points. And not every week is going to be a barn burner. And he's got, a tough matchup against New England, but. Look, I mean, the Giants, they get Jackson Dart back perhaps this week. I just feel like, that's a team that just you can't sleep on either. Those guys are trying to win games, and they have guys that can put up points. So if you're desperate, that's kind of like where I'm going with that.
Yeah, it's the time of year where teams kind of give up and the waiver wire, the frenzy kind of lowers. And so I didn't see too many tasty treats on the waiver wire on my leagues, but I did see Devin Neal go pretty early to the team that was, lower in the totem pole. Devin Neal, Dylan Sampson was another pickup, and he's a good, stash. Judkins isn't out, but he got hurt that game and came back. So Dylan Sampson is another rookie who looked fantastic.
He got a touchdown last week. Yeah,
that's right. So while Judkins was out, Sampson had a good touchdown run. I also think Khalil Shakir, if for some reason people have given up on him, he showed up again. So he's always been a good flex spot for me when I've had him. If you need wideout, I'd pick him up. Jaden Higgins, I just mentioned, he's been having a good set of games with the Texans.
Yeah, my opponent this week picked up Jaden Higgins. So
finally.
Well, I mean, it's good. I'm glad that Jaden Higgins is getting recognized, but I'm not happy to be facing him. So hopefully he cools down a little bit this week.
Yeah, I mean, I go up against the other 8-4 team, and it's a waiver wire wonderland. I mean, I'm facing Michael Wilson. I'm facing Rico Dowdle. I mean, I'm not excited about those two things. And then a bunch of other players that have really shown up in a surprising way, which is George Pickens and Ferguson. So it's I'm not excited about my matchup there at all.
Well, and also as we get towards this nitty gritty part of the season, this is the kickers carousel, the defensive carousel, right?
You start picking them up.
Start picking them up, and you're looking at matchups, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, if I've got Kaimi Fairbairn on my team this week, I had Boswell last week, and I could have Evan McPherson next week, and I can have Zane Gonzalez the week after that, or Will Lutz. They're just guys that are producing points. You're just sort of spinning the roulette wheel to see which matchup is going to be the more favorable one, and it's a roulette wheel call. You can just, it's just you just go with your instinct, and hopefully one of these guys goes off.
100% pure love. And a few more. Brenton Strange, if you need a tight end. He came back from IR and looked fantastic. So if you were lucky enough to get him, congrats. If he's still on your waiver wire, I pick him up. The Chargers defense, they were on bye last week, and they should be looking good this week. I'd pick up and stash
the awful Raiders.
Yes, against your brilliantly awful Raiders. So that's going to be
the worst offense. Like literally, whoever faces the Raiders, like from this point forth, like that could even be the path to going to the Super Bowl for some people. Like if I think so. With Geno Smith at the helm, it's like I feel like every defense is guaranteed to score at least 20 points, if you're facing the Raiders. So I know that they're facing Kansas City one more time, and they're facing Denver. So whoever's got the Chiefs and the Broncos and the Chargers, like you mentioned, Oh man, good
Good things are
on
ahead.
you.
Yeah,
Good
good things are
on
ahead.
you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some interesting matchups coming up later on. Let's talk about this week's matchups. You ready, J-Mar? The very first one I'm gonna bring up is Texans versus the Colts.
Ooh, tough game, dude. Whew, that's a tough game, dude.
The Colts, what happened? They looked hot. Now they're sort of not. I mean, I believe they're going to lose this game.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
I
Yeah, I
just
mean,
don't see it. What do you see?
divisional game. These guys are in the same division. So this might be one of those newer kind of rivalries since both of these teams are showing promise. And I mean, look, Jacksonville's no slouch either. So that's actually become a kind of a crowded division all of a sudden late in the year, which I like. I mean, that's kind of cool.
It's one game difference, 8-3, 7-4, 6-5, and then Tennessee 1-10. They still ass.
Yeah, they still ask, but I mean, that's kind of crowded. I think Houston needs this game more, right? That's in order to stay alive in this madness. But Indianapolis has also cooled down, like you had mentioned, and they didn't get the dub last week, right? That was a loss for them. They lost. They barely lost to the Kansas City Chiefs at Kansas City. They lost by a field goal, dude. It's going to be close. And even though Houston really wants to, they actually need to win this game in order to remain relevant and in the playoff hunt. But Jacksonville is kind of just being, just kind of one step ahead of them. And I like Houston too. I like their head coach. I like their whole vibe. I'm going to go with Indianapolis, man. I think Indy bounces back from that tough loss against Kansas City. And they're at home. It's just going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game either way. I mean, it's a pick 'em, but I'll pick Indy and less than 3.
Indy less than 3. They are favored by 3.5. So you're now turned 4.5. So it's gone up a little bit.
Yeah. So if you're in Vegas, put your money on Houston, but I think that Indy's going to win that game in a squeaker.
What might not be a squeaker is the Arizona Cardinals versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 3-8 Cardinals don't seem like they're 3-8 with Jacoby Brissett. Things seem up over there. Like the fantasy horizon looks better for them, even though their record really sucks. I mean, this is a tough division, right? We got the Rams and Seattle and Niners 9-2, 8-3, 8-4. So they really need this game. I think the Bucs do show up, but it's going to be that's not going to be an easy win.
Well, I'm going to make a prediction now, dude, and it's for next season, and I don't think it's that revolutionary of an idea, but I think that Kyler Murray is going to be a Las Vegas Raider next season.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
It just makes sense. Arizona needs to get rid of him, and the Raiders need a quarterback desperately. I just see that marriage happening. And so to your point, I think Jacoby Brissett's going to hold on to that job. He's shown that he can hold on to that job. This is going to be a close game. It's at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay needs to win this game. It's also crowded in the South. It's just that time of year, man. It's the time where the people who are going to make the playoffs win games, and this is where Tampa Bay needs to step up and win games. They're getting Godwin and Bucky Irving back this week. I feel like that's going to be a confidence boost for them. And they're at home. They're at home. I know Baker Mayfield kind of, was floundering against the Rams and he got hurt, but he's going to be back. He's just too much of a competitor. I give Tampa Bay the edge in this one.
Yeah, they opened at -6 and it went all the way down to 2.5. I would take the Bucs with that. I think they're going to win by more than a field goal. So I think they played so poorly in their last game. I think people are underestimating them. I think Bucky Irving will give them a nice mental boost, if not an actual football boost. And it'll be at least fun to watch the Cardinals. They've been more fun without Kyler Murray, and welcome to the Raiders.
Yeah, absolutely. The 3 words that every quarterback wants to hear, or 4 words that every welcome to the Raiders. Oh,
Things aren't doing
just to
great.
follow up to your point there too, man. Like literally, it's funny how people are like, oh, Tampa Bay looked awful. Yeah, they looked awful against probably the team that's going to win the Super Bowl this year. I mean, the Rams are an elite team. So the fact that they got kicked around by what looks to be perhaps maybe the Super Bowl contender.
The rep of the NFC for sure.
Yeah, dude. Cut them some slack, dude. Yeah, Tampa Bay might not go all the way to the Super Bowl this year, but they are a gritty team. They know how to win, and I see them beating Arizona this week.
Also, tickets are only $35 to go see this game. Go if you're in Florida. What is going on,
dude?
With football games.
I guess it's that time of year. It's also kind of unusually cold, I think, in Florida. But and maybe it's also just the going up against the 3-8 Arizona Cardinals.
It's not exciting. It's an important game though.
It's an important game, but actually, it's like what. Who are the stars of the Arizona Cardinals? I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see, Trey Benson play, or I can't wait to see, Michael, what is it, Michael Wilson? Is that his name?
Michael Wilson, yeah. He's looked better than Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, I mean,
Junior, it just hasn't looked good.
But look, $35 is a steal to get.
That's almost a movie.
Stadium. Yeah, absolutely. It's like almost like you're right. It's like
a 3D movie.
It's a 3D IMAX movie. You're right, dude. It's like, but instead you get to yell at your favorite superstars in the NFL.
You can yell. Up next, we have the Vikings versus the Seahawks. A great narrative story. The Vikings are 4-7. They opened this year looking like a much scarier team, going 14-3. And now they're 4-7. And they're facing the guy that got them there, Sam Darnold, who lost one playoff game. And they said, you know what, we've had enough. And so, the analytics has the Seahawks. The fans definitely have the Seahawks. And I have the Seahawks. I mean, it's not going to be close. And we have Mr. Max BROZ-mer making his first start. Unless he makes a Tom Brady like miraculous start, it's going to be more bad news for Vikings fans.
Yeah, and the Vikings defense has shown really awesome signs throughout the year. That not consistent signs, but they've been they've been known to show up certain weeks for sure. But I just it's just that revenge factor, and people always sort of downplay it, especially the players are like, oh, it's just any regular NFL game. Man, Sam Darnold didn't appreciate getting booted out of Minnesota. That's kind of like a diss. It's like, wait, I took you guys to the playoffs and you guys just boot me. I mean, there's such a high expectation of a win now sort of culture that I think that people sort of fool themselves. I mean, where would Minnesota be if Sam Darnold was their quarterback now? And I'm sure
contenders.
I'm sure all the Justin Jefferson owners like yourself would be like, sweet, I'm so happy I got Justin Jefferson. So I think it's a revenge game. I mean, I just don't see how this one's going to be close. But who knows? I've been known to be wrong. But I see Seattle really putting the hurt on Minnesota.
I mean, the spread is 11.5 in the Seahawks' favor. And it's gone up by a couple of points. I mean, that might be getting too far. We're talking about 10 more points, but like you said, they might want to just dunk on them. So that's wow, and it's a low total too, only 41.5.
Yeah, it's a good call. Yeah, so I don't know, man. I just it's Seattle. It's the that cold ass Pacific Northwest open stadium. I don't know.
Yeah.
Seattle, 12 man, Seattle. They're playing good, man. I'm sure the local Seahawk fans are pretty stoked that their team has kind of bounced back from the disappointments they've had in seasons past. So
those tickets are not $35. They're over $100. So
makes sense.
Makes more sense.
Put a winning product on the field, man.
Well, I mean, the records aren't that far off. I don't know if it's just the Floridians aren't into it anymore. I mean, it's just odd to me. Anyway, we're not talking about football tickets. These football tickets are extremely expensive. $315 is your minimum to get into this door. By the time this podcast is released, we'll know the result of the Bears and Eagles game, but let's talk about it anyway. Both 8-3. But there's been lots of memes about these two teams. You know, we have the John Daly like Bears versus the Tiger Woods like Eagles, though I think that's giving them way too much credit. The spread opened at 7 points and stayed at 7 points. Everyone in Vegas thinks that the Eagles will win and win by at least a touchdown. J-Mar, do you agree?
Oof, well, that's an expensive ticket, man. I think it's because it's the day after Thanksgiving and it's a hot ticket. Everyone's off, you know, they're going to want to go to a football game. It's Philly and they're all pissed off in Philly, especially because they lost to the friggin' Cowboys last week. They had a 21-0 lead. Like, Philly's bitter. They're always mad. They're just mad. Yeah, they're just mad, dude. They're just mad. I just feel like Philly's got that game because of that. You know, they're bringing a lot of just pissed off, bitter energy to that game. And I feel like I feel like they don't like, yeah, they're gonna be like, what? Like, we're the Super Bowl champs. We're gonna let some, you know, different color fingernail chump come over here and take over our city. Hell no. It ain't gonna happen, dude. It's almost like you know, Philly, like Chicago's too woke for that shit, you know, like, you know, Philly's too non-woke for it. So take Philly. Yeah, dude. And, you know, and dude, look, I've been a big proponent of the Bears, you know, all season long, and I've kind of seen flashes of when they're gonna win, and I've picked them to win their last three games, you know, and they've proven me right. I just think that the joy train stops in Philly for them. 8-3 is a good run. I think they learn from this loss though, and they still get into the playoffs. But I think Philly takes this.
The more you know. Yeah, it feels like it's one of these games where they're going to have to learn what it looks like to be a Super Bowl winning team. And Caleb will be taking notes with his different colored fingernails, and I think it'll help him grow. I think the Bears will beat the spread. That's my hope. And maybe, you know, might squeak out a win if a lot of luck goes their way. Some fumbles from Jalen Hurts, some interceptions, you know, some lucky breaks like that, a long touchdown to Colston Loveland, things like that might swing things the Bears' way. But, you know, we'll have to see. That's why they played the game, J-Mar, as we often say on this podcast.
Hey, look, you know, I'm hoping for a great game, you know, like I hope it's not like 31-0, you know, but, you know, the Bears have shown a lot of moxie. They've shown a lot of fight. And as we talked, you know, that head coach has really changed the culture of that team. I mean, they're going to come. This is an NFL professional team. They're going to want to win this game. So I'm excited. I'll tune in for that game.
I'm getting less excited the more we talk about it because I remember the Detroit Lions game where we lost 52 to like 17. So it might be like that. We might just get destroyed. So we shall see. I mean, Ben Johnson will score more points than that, I think. But oh man, it's yeah. I'm getting less excited the more we talk about it. J-Mar.
I mean, it's Philly, dude. You know, they're that team. You know, and when people are like, oh, they look awful, and they don't look like they're in sync, and they look terrible, and that's exactly when they show up and they, you know, show you why they're the Philly Super Bowl winning champion Eagles.
Speaking of champions, Shedeur Sanders.
Oh,
he's up against the Niners.
1-0
versus somebody who actually got drafted way farther down than him, Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy. Got his contract, and right now the Niners are heavily favorited according to the analytics, and the fans definitely see the Niners winning. The spread is actually pretty close, 4.5 points. It opened at 6.5. J-Mar, I mean, the Browns defense is awesome. McCaffrey, you know, he's the engine that could, right? He's the guy that just keeps on carrying this team. I mean, I think Brock Purdy just kept giving McCaffrey the ball. It's the McCaffrey 49ers for sure. That's the face that should be on the breakout when they do the head-to-head matchup ads for this game. But will Shedeur Sanders show up and continue his hot streak?
Well, it's an interesting game, right? I mean, the Niner defense showed up last week against Bryce Young on Monday night, and they had a good showing against the Carolina defense. Wasn't that good, but good enough. Um, it's a tough game. I mean, conventional wisdom points to pick the Niners, right? It just seems like this is a game that they should win, but people said that the Raiders were going to beat Cleveland and Shador last week, and I was like, that ain't happening. So
Mm,
I like the fact that Cleveland's at home. I like the fact that the weather's turning, and Lake Superior or whatever lake that is that they play next to is just starting to get a little colder.
I think
Just
it's
defense.
eerie.
It's defense weather, right? That's what that is. It's defense weather. So, I think that Cleveland's got a slightly better defense in San Francisco. I think Shador Sanders does enough. It's not like he's going to explode for 300 or anything like that, but I think he does enough to win that game in a squeaker. I got Cleveland in the upset.
Dang.
Yeah.
I think that could happen. I could see it. I could see it.
I mean, like I said, all conventional wisdom, take the Niners. But look, I just, sometimes you got a feeling, so go with the feeling.
I think the defense keeps him in that game. And Brock Purdy looked awful last week, and they just couldn't capitalize. The many interceptions that the Carolina Panthers had, they just couldn't score. So like it wasn't like that team was doing excellent. It's just it was up against an offense that has struggled. So
Yeah.
they could have easily lost that game. And the Browns are a better team, oddly enough, than the Panthers, I think. Now that Shador Sanders is there, they're on the upswing. So it'll be interesting game for sure. The game I have up now, though, is the Buffalo Bills versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's split, dude. I mean, Allen's really sucked, and he, made sure I didn't get another win. I had the Hochuli has just been on a 4-game losing streak. Allen didn't help. I mean, he helped last week when he scored almost 40 points. And so let's see what the fans say. The fans are feeling Bills more. I think we get Aaron Rodgers in this game. It's at home. I think the Bills lose, dude. I just think that they made a huge mistake not making their wideouts better. They don't have a real wideout one. I don't think it's Brandon Cooks. He could cook. I don't know. But like it just, they have James Cook, Brandon Cooks, but this team ain't cooking anymore. I mean, they just don't seem like, I don't know, the Patriots who are 10-2.
Yeah. And this is kind of like and the Patriots are playing the Giants, which is like, ooh. I mean, look, people could accuse New England of having a soft schedule, and that's why they're rolling, right? And look, they're probably going to be 11-2 after facing the Giants, which means that Buffalo needs to win. I mean, this is a must-win game, in my humble opinion, for both Pittsburgh and Buffalo. An interesting game, especially because, look, Baltimore, I remember a few weeks back when they weren't doing so hot, you and I both said they need to just win out. Lamar Jackson came back, and he hasn't lost a game since he's been back.
Not great for fantasy, but he's been winning games.
Yeah, but he's been winning games, so like literally it's like but you're right, not good for fantasy, but the Baltimore has the same record as Pittsburgh now.
Yep.
And Cleveland, eerily enough, if they end up winning that upset game, like I think that they will, I mean, they're kind of in the weird conversation of maybe even still winning that division, which Shador Sanders bleed at. And oh my gosh, who else are we missing in that division there? The
Cincinnati Bengals, dude. I mean, they score lots of points and lose, and they might get their wonderful Joe Burrow back. I don't know that'll matter, but like maybe.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. Like both Cleveland and Cincinnati have the same record, and both the Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. I just feel like this is a Baltimore power play. And Baltimore, it's so funny that 6 weeks ago, people were talking about getting rid of John Harbaugh. from Baltimore. It's like, come on, dude. Everybody's overreacting. Simmer down.
They had a tough start. They had some injuries up top. They didn't have their hero, Lamar Jackson. I mean, everyone kind of saw this coming. I mean, their odds of making it into the playoffs didn't go down at all, even though they were, they were like 3-5 or whatever it was. They just won. They just keep winning. Their schedule isn't that hard when they have Cincinnati and Cleveland in it. But this game, the Bengals versus the Ravens, it wasn't on our docket to talk about. But it's interesting because the Baltimore Ravens are heavily favorited, even with Joe Burrow coming back.
I mean, I just feel like Baltimore sees the opening, and they also are part of that philosophy of like, look, let's just get in the playoffs. And now we're in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry,
Zay Flowers,
Zay Flowers, and D Hop. These are guys that just kind of like, all right, let's take it another level. Let's kick it up a notch because this is where our talent and our drive is going to win games. So, how that domino affects to the game that we're talking about is going back to Pittsburgh, Buffalo, is that, that puts Pittsburgh in kind of like a must-win situation. They're at home, that crowd, the terrible towels. I just feel like it's the kind of game that just says the Pittsburgh should win this game. But it's Buffalo. They're schizophrenic. They're also kind of in that mode of, like we're talking about, they're just going to get in somehow and they're going to cause damage against the right opponent. I think Houston is going to operate in the same way. That's if they get into the playoffs. But I like Buffalo to win this game. I think it's a must win for Buffalo, and they know that when they have home field advantage, that teams don't like going to Buffalo because it's like -8 degrees, and it plays to their favor. So, whether that means that they're going to be playing the championship in the AFC in Foxborough or at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indy. I don't know, man. That the prospect of either those two teams going to the Super Bowl is just not really clicking with me right now. Which means that, the old stalwarts that look like they're faltering now, I think are just going to kick it in an overdrive once the playoff starts, and that we could potentially see a Buffalo, a Baltimore, a Kansas City, and potentially a Houston go far in the playoffs.
Oddly enough, I see this as a low-scoring game. I don't think it'll get over 46.5 points. It's an important game. I think it gets defensive. I think it gets into the running. It is getting colder, but it's not yet snowing. So we're heading into these times where the better running teams, the better defensive teams start to win out. And so that would mean the Steelers would be more favorited than the Bills. They got James Cook, but that's the breaks, and that's this podcast. So, J-Mar, if you're listening at home, in your car, or just anywhere, remember to subscribe, share, and like this podcast. We've been doing it from some time now. This is episode 15. We're heading into week 13. Good luck out there. If you're still in it, even if you're not in it, your league should have a pooper bowl, and you should be fighting for something because it makes it more interesting when everyone plays the game. J-Mar, any last words of advice?
Preach, brother. No, that's exactly it, dude. Like, don't give up. Nitty gritty time. Even if you're not necessarily contending, just play the spoiler because that's what being competitive is all about.